And that was my first concert, actually, in Mount Olive, Alabama, the Hank Williams Memorial Celebration. I was just a little kid. And first concert, Hank Williams Jr., maybe the second show after the Mountain Fall.
Wow.
And in the program, it still had a picture pre-Mountain Fall. It was so fresh. Things were so new. They didn't even have publicity photos for the new look. And he came out there. I'll never forget. He came out there and he had one of those Les Paul Gibsons. And he said, "All right, folks, this ain't the same Bocephus that you've seen in the past." And he went into Sweet Home Alabama at least volume 9. And I had never seen anything like that. And it just really changed my life. And with Hank Jr., he really just, when you go to his show, you get 100% of him. You know what I mean? He really opens up his heart. He says what's on his mind at that minute. And he just sings his heart out. I mean, he really does. And it's quite a musical journey. But anyway, that was the first time I saw him. The first time I met him, I got to know Merle Kilgore when I was a kid, and a lady named Connie Smith, not the singer Connie Smith, but a Connie Smith that worked in his offices in Coleman, Alabama, and they invited me to come to a museum opening in Nashville on Demumbrian now, where the Tin Roof and so many of the bars are. There used to be Waylon Jennings Museum, the Conway Twitty Record Shop. Alabama had a store. Well, anyway, there was a Hank Williams Jr. Family Tradition Museum. And they invited me to come to the grand opening. And that was my second trip to Nashville. And I just couldn't believe it. I walked in and there's Johnny Cash, June Carter, Waylon Jennings, Jesse Coulter, Dickie Betts of the Allman Brothers, and Hank Jr. And it's like, again, I was very young. And what do you say to someone? When I walked up, and I think I said something stupid like, "Well, how's the deer hunting down in Troy, Alabama," which is the town next to my hometown. And he was kind. It's like, "Well, if you want to get a deer, go to Troy." And that was the meeting.
That sounds about right.
Yeah. But he was nice. I mean, he wasn't rude.
Yeah.
But it's funny, but he's a nice guy. Such a good, it's amazing that he has walking about sense after all he's been through. And a lot of people have given him a hard time, but he has a right. I'm just going to go ahead and say it. He has a right to say whatever he wants to.
Oh, yeah.
And really pretty much do what he wants to, because, shoved out there at 8 years old and, opening shows for Ernest Tubb and Grandpa Jones, and then ends up having to be the headliner because everybody wants to see Hank Williams' kid.
Yeah.
And I mean, I can't imagine that, wearing some of the clothing, playing your dad that you never knew, that you maybe have one or two memories of, playing his guitar. I can't even comprehend what that must have been like, growing up so quick and being around people like Fats Domino at a young age, showing you, how to play the piano, Jerry Lee Lewis, or going to Earl Scruggs' house for banjo lessons. And again, I mean, just even talking about it, it just blows my mind. And then, of course, having your brain knocked out when you're in your 20s on a mountain fall, literally the guy with him had to kind of shove his brain back in with two fingers, and to literally having your face broken to pieces and so many surgeries. And then just dealing with the whole Nashville establishment of the 60s and early 70s, where they wanted him to just be the reincarnation of his dad. I mean, his booking agent back then, they would, I've heard in interviews and I've read and heard from people that were there that, no, they were like, no. They don't want to hear your songs, sing your dad's songs.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. I'm sure it was pretty cool when you're 9 and 12 years old, but when you're hitting 23, 24, that's a whole different story. But boy, has he survived, and so many other losses and heartaches. But if there's ever, I mean, his picture should be beside the definition and be beside the word survivor in the dictionary.
100%.